Telling your followers you started a live video. Welcome, Rocket. Alright, you got here early. Alright, send your request and we'll get started. Cooper, you're going to get mentioned today, buddy. Welcome to the show. It's going to be a four-man show, roundtable. Marvin's going to join here. We got Julius joining on. Marvin, welcome.
How's it going?
Doing good.
Hello.
Julius, what's going on?
Crunch time. I just got home from work, so I'm happy to be home and on the podcast.
Welcome.
I got a beer because that's the usual. So I'm very excited to talk tonight.
Still waiting on Yost. Oh, here she comes. Welcome, everyone. Yost, go ahead and send me request, and I'll get you on. Thank you. Marvin Morales, how you doing? All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining. This is episode 13 of the Spotters podcast. Tonight, we're doing a little round table. It's going to be four of us. I'll be the welcome, everyone. I'll be the question person. I don't know how that goes. And then, what is it? Moderator.
From the Peanut Gallery.
Yeah.
Moderator.
Okay, my wife, she knows all the big word. Me, I'm like, I don't know, random guy. And then we're going to start off with a few little, things for the end of the year. This is the last show of the year. And we started up again next year in January on the 7th. So we got some time off. We could start doing some photos, different type of photos. Marvin, you already started with your commercial and corporate jets. And I'm sorry, boy. And, I'm shooting helicopters at the airport and stuffness. I'm trying to get my panning down. So a few things I wanted to cover. The top episode of the year was episode 3 with Julius. He scored the most plays on Spotify. Number 2 was Brian. He was our episode number 1 last year. And top 3, third place is Marvin. He was the top 3 there. So congrats to you guys for getting the most plays on Spotify.
Thank you.
Not a lot, but people have listened to your show, so that's cool. So we added a poll on the channel. I was gonna pull topics out of a hat, and then I couldn't find a hat. So we added a poll to the channel this weekend, and the people voted. Now, because there was a tie between the topics we had, so the topics for this show is AI use in aviation photography, and that goes with flight simulators, combat simulators. I even kind of thought about Adobe AI, for example, or software AI. You got Topaz that is doing crazy things to your photos, make them sharper. Like all the images that I've deleted over the years, I could have saved with Topaz. Along with the second topic was teamwork, coordination, and communication with events and projects. And the third one is air-to-air photography with drones. Now, I know we've seen videos out there of drones following like a P-51. And, I would love to do that. I don't have those skills. But so we're going to go with the first topic. The tie was AI use in aviation. Oh, sorry about that. Correction. The topic was communication and teamwork and air-to-air with drones. The tiebreaker is me, and I have chosen communication and teamwork. Nice hat there, Julius.
I figured I'd get festive.
I didn't get the notification. I need a Santa hat. Come on.
Yeah. Where's our Santa hat?
Seriously.
My bad. Sorry.
So,
Just want to get. It was right next to me. I wanted to get festive real quick.
So Marvin, I know you have, you just did this video with the Rhino demo team, but since we outnumber the only female we have on the show, Sam, she's gonna go first.
Sounds good.
Oh, come on.
Ladies first.
Oh.
So Sam,
So
you
what?
just did.
Go ahead.
Say again.
What's the topic we're covering?
Yeah. So we're talking about communication, coordination, and teamwork.
Okay.
And I know that you were running around Seward with Cooper Thorne, and I think I saw Camden out there, and I met him, for the first time. We've talked online a few times, but I met him out there. So you ran around. You're documenting the A10 demo team. Tell me about your experience with, maybe coordinating with the team. Talking to the team members. I know you did a safety briefing the last day of the show. What was your project you're working on? Can you tell us anything about it? And yeah, Cooper Thorne mentioned. There you go, Cooper. So
Yeah. So basically, Cooper and I were covering the last A10 demo. It was a lot of fun. It was definitely a lot of running around and being aware of where we were. Making sure we knew what events were happening when and how certain things were getting covered. But I think the biggest thing was being very aware of where everyone was. When we were asked to do it, we were told to stay out of the PA officer Devlin's way because, he's obviously priority number one in covering it. So we were kind of trying to be hyper aware and hyper vigilant of where he was, so that way we were out of his way and he could get the content he needed. But I mean, yeah, Cooper and I were super collaborative on different photos we were doing. Sometimes he would be getting a shot and I'm like, oh, Cooper, I need to get that shot too, or he would do the same thing with me. So we were really just kind of capturing as many moments as we could. The more cameras that we had on the moment, the better, because it was a piece of history. And yeah, so we were just kind of all working together, and there was no real set thing we were covering, just kind of capturing all the moments we could.
all right, awesome. Did you? I spoke to Preston a little bit, and I spoke to I forget his other name. The other what's his name? I think it was
Kyle.
Kyle.
Oh, yeah.
Kyle Newsom. So I spoke to Preston, and he was alluding that there was some special camera angles. He hasn't released that yet, so I'm not going to spoil it for everyone or for him. But hey, Preston, welcome. So tell me, were you trying to look for a specific shot over the weekend, or what were you just trying to capture all these feels of the final A10 demo?
There was no specific thing I was trying to capture. I think I didn't realize that she was going to do 2 demos. So the fact that she ended up doing a sunset demo for the last demo was so cinematic that it just made everything so much better. And that one shot I got where it's kind of just a 45 off the nose and the sun's peering through and there's a sun flare, that was my shot of the weekend. I'm happy with that one and I'm done. Yeah, there's no real thing I was specifically looking for, but just trying to capture everything I could.
All right, cool. I know I was there at Stewart, and I did kind of a little bit more behind the scenes. I found some friends that work in my same agency, and we kind of went into some areas that I got escorted into. So, and I thought I was going to get better angles of the wall of fire, and I realized that I was not in the best. But I did get a pretty lined up shot with the moon as the A10 kind of rocketed past it. So that was kind of cool. Marvin, you finished the Rhino demo team shoot maybe 2 months ago, or maybe a little longer than that. I know you uploaded onto YouTube 2 months ago. And in this video, you mentioned that there's 22 people working in this team at the show.
Yeah.
talk to me about how you fit in there with the experience you had with them this year.
So the team we work with is the same one that was here last year. So Battle Creek, we usually get them. And so the first year I worked with them was when Peaches was still captain of the team, which is a great guy. And then he actually ended up, I think he subbed out like near the middle of the season, closer to the end of the season, because he was essentially trying out for the Blues, which was really cool. We all thought it was really awesome to hear about. And then so Sam and Marty were the ones that took over. I met Marty at the same time when Sam was kind of leading the team and Marty was still qualifying for demos and stuff. So, but at the end of 2023, I had mentioned that, hey, I would really like to do a doc, something just kind of for them. They have been super hospitable, probably some of the most humble pilots I've ever met, realistically, like aside from the Blues. And if you've talked to them, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. They're open to talk to anybody. Just super nice, very kind. And that's kind of like what I think helps inspire a lot of people to want to be pilots. And so I really want to do a doc, not just on the plane, but on them specifically, and talk with them and have them interview. So I made a Milanote, and we kind of throughout the year, through ICAS and different things, we had talked about kind of what that was going to look like, my thoughts, what their thoughts were, camera angles we can get. And then kind of, I would say about 2 months prior to the first shoot where we started doing all the interview stuff, which was their arrival day, we had, there's a guy who works at my church. He is an audio engineer. And so he was like, hey, I'd love to help. I follow your work, I want to help. And so I was like, yeah, I can't pay you, but if you want to help, you're more than welcome to. And he was super open to it. And he showed up with like a Pelican full of just audio equipment. So essentially what ended up happening is he brought enough field mics to record the entire tarmac. And then we got the sound floor there. And then when we were at the show, he placed mics everywhere around the show and essentially was just recording ambience.
Wow.
And then he had a mic for the radio. So on practice days, we would record we'd have him isolated and he would actually just record the safety radio. And we'd have Trash Cat queue up on the mic every once in a while to call up maneuvers, since we couldn't record the intercom system, which is something we're still trying to work on for the Growler team. And then, but yeah, and then after that, this is like kind of like a big chaos, because that's one of my main shows. It's one of the shows I shoot everything for. So to be able to do that all by myself is kind of tough. But Kyle Newsom ended up showing up to the show to help Mad. And then I contacted Preston about doing this doc and how I might have to tap into some of his footage, because I don't think I'll be able to do it all on my own. And sure enough, that actually came to pass, because my wife was pregnant with our second, and it was only a week prior to our due date, or to when she actually gave birth. So it was kind of like, don't know what's going to happen. I left a day early to come help out with the kids. And so Kyle was like, hey, I'll get whatever you need. What do you need? And I gave him a shot list, and he went and did it, which was great. That was so helpful. He got a lot of really good moments, like even the beginning one where the Rhino team's taxiing behind Rob, and Rob's taking a selfie. Like that was all Kyle's shot, and just grabbing those very unique moments was great. And then Preston came in clutch with a lot of 120 while I recorded a lot of stuff in 24 and 60. So it was kind of a hodgepodge of different cameras too, which was really difficult to piece together, especially with it being overcast for all of our days except for the last day. And then Preston having like the only sunny footage, which kind of stunk. So outside of that, it was really good. Like they were super open. They sent Dropbox links, and the original plan was like, we're going to do music and stuff like that. And then I took inspiration from it was a Blue Angels doc from 1990, forgive my age, but it was a doc called Around the World at the Speed of Sound. So if you've ever seen the Blue Angels doc, you saw Greg Woldridge. So he was actually the commanding officer of that team who went to Moscow. And so that doc is actually almost no music. There's music on certain parts, but most of it is just sound design, talking, and B-roll over the talking.
Wow.
So they came in clutch, because I think I only had about a terabyte worth of B-roll footage, and then we had all the interviews. So Kyle came in and filled half of the void of all of this extra B-roll that was needed, and then Preston came in and filled the rest of it. And then our audio engineer essentially gave me all the sound floors we had, and then I pretty much put it all together to be like, so everything you saw there was all sound design. Like there's nothing from a camera. It was like we added the sound floor, I added some of the extra stuff in there to make it sound like he's on the tarmac, and then the audio is actually very clean. So that was kind of the idea around it. But coordinating with them was very easy. They made it, and of course, working with, Sam can attest, working with people that know what they're doing makes it a whole lot easy. They just know where to go. They know where to be. It's different when you get a team, like we have a team of people who apply for media at Battle Creek, and you kind of like a walk, like, hey, like you can't be over here, get whatever you want, send us your best 10, and then we'll coordinate on how we're going to post them on social or whatever they're going to be used for, and they sign waivers. There's a lot of things that you walk through with new people, and essentially no offense to them, it's just the idea is that we're probably not going to use them because most likely they're here for their first time shooting and they're super nervous, versus having vets out like you or Julius or anybody else that would come out. I don't have to worry about you. Preston came out for Chicago. I don't have to worry about him. I'm shoot whatever you want, dude. Just send me whatever the best thing you got. And he did a great job doing a recap of Chicago. Like, I never had to worry about what he was going to shoot. And same with Kyle. Like, I don't have to worry about. I gave him a shot list, but ultimately I was like, I just need unique stuff. I've got all the people stuff. Now give me extra plane footage. And he just came in clutch. That was kind of how it was. It was very easy. And then the team themselves, they were super open too. They were asking like, what do you want? What do you need? I was like, well, what can I get away with? We wanted to put GoPros in the planes, which is where we started showing some of that GoPro footage. And they were open to it. They gave us all the footage that they could that didn't show any MFDs or anything like that, which was great. They couldn't show the HUD. There's a couple things we can't show that I got a hold of, which was really cool to see, but it's just, for offset purposes. Yeah. But outside of that, they were open to anything. Like, as long as they could feasibly do it without either ruining the plane or interfering with the demo, then they're very open to it, which was a huge blessing.
That's awesome. So how long did it take you to work on this kind of like a storyboard?
The storyboard took 2 months to work through, and that's with 2 hour-long phone calls with them as we're sitting and looking at the board and figuring out what that was going to look like. And even then, the video was only like 8.5 minutes long. It was supposed to be much longer, but in my stupidity, I asked some of the dumbest questions possible. So I was like, this is dumb. Like I was going through it. I was like, this is all stupid. I don't want to put any of this in there. So I cut more than half of it out. But this year with the Growler team, there's much more specific things we're going to be asking and looking for. And the doc for the Rhino team, as I told everybody, when they think about a doc, they think about the Blue Angel doc, which is more of a movie because there's lots of story arcs. Whereas there is no emotional part to this. It's just them explaining information, essentially. So it's an informational doc. So the Growler one will be probably more of a story arc where it's like, hey, there's a new team coming in. How do you guys train along with, because the difference between the Thunderbirds and Blue Angels versus them is their instructors, they'll do their hops as instructors, and then they still have to come back and do the syllabus for the actual demo. And when they're not out, being an instructor, they're practicing, versus the Blues are always practicing, and that's all they do. So they can devote 100% of their time to it. So telling that story of how, Growler pilots are over in Whidbey, what do you guys do when you're not, when you're not doing this demo? How do you bring people on? How do they learn it? That's kind of what we're going to try and show this next time.
Very cool. I'm looking forward to that video or documentary that you're putting together. So you talked a little bit about this storyboard. You're working on this for 2 months. Is there anything extra that you said, okay, well, you know what? Maybe this maneuver would be a pretty cool showcase, but we didn't really talk about it. We didn't really coordinate it. Is there anything extra that you kind of, the day of the show, been like, you know what? I know we didn't talk about this, but can we try to do this maneuver?
Yeah, so we talked about doing the flat pirouette, which was something that we wanted to do, where the idea was we would show video footage of the actual flat pirouette happening, and then I asked if it's possible that you could either wear the GoPro or mount the GoPro at the top of the canopy looking down at the stick. Is there anything on there that we can't show? He goes, no, there's nothing there that we can show it to you. It's not a big deal as long as it doesn't get any of the MFDs. Well, it turned out that we actually could see all of the MFD information, which was bad. So we had to zoom in and post and then use that shot. And unfortunately, because the flat pirouette was during an overcast day, or because it was an overcast day for all of our maneuvers, we never got the flat pirouette at all. So it was kind of like, well, we've got this GoPro footage, and unfortunately, unless you know what you're looking at, it doesn't look like he's actually doing anything, but this was actual footage from a flat pirouette that he had done.
Yeah.
Like, and because on practice day it was actually sunny, so it was the only day that we had. But I was focused on other things at the time. So, but yeah, that's probably the only thing where we're like, we didn't talk about it. We briefly talked about it, but we never actually planned for it, and then we just went for it. So that's what we got.
And everything was shot at Battle Creek?
Almost everything was shot at Battle Creek except for all of Preston's footage, which was shot at some air show he was at. I honestly forgot. It was definitely pre the new livery. So the new livery with the blue tail, that is all, I think from what I understand is this was last year's footage. So outside of that, I have no idea. I just asked him for it. I was like, I don't care what it is. It looks good. We're just going to use it and we're going to go with it.
Yeah, that was something, you know.
He was Cleveland 2023. That's what he said. Cleveland 2023.
Yeah, that livery that went to Battle Creek also came to Stewart.
Yeah.
So it is probably good to get if you're gonna do a documentary like that or a video like that, extended video, to probably get the same livery on the jet rather than
usually it would be for continuity purposes. Yes, definitely. Unless you're telling history of the team or whatever subject you're doing, then that wouldn't be a bad idea to slot in previous liveries for, you know, like if you had gone back and talked about something. We even have footage where we have things where we talked about how Dancing Bear threw up in the plane, and I didn't get to put any of that in there because I asked what was the most embarrassing moment or the funniest moment being on the team, and they all agreed. And they even gave me the radio calls. They had recorded the radio calls because they had asked about it. And unfortunately, I was like, I want to put this in here, but I don't have Dancing Bear to have him defend himself. So essentially it's 4 against 1.
Yeah. And
he's not here. So, but it was funny to listen to it. I was like, I really should put this in here, but I feel like it's just going to be a hardcore ream to him. So I'll leave it alone. But he's the only guy I didn't get to interview.
Yeah. Cool. Man, I'm really looking forward to that, and I thank you for calling me a veteran of this. I was super nervous. You know, Stewart was like my first kind of really deep behind the scenes of what's going on at an air show. I've had media access at other shows, at Miami Beach Air and Sea Show. I've had media access. I've gone to Media Day a few times, but to really go to the furthest out from the crowd up to where the box is, like being inside the box, that's like the furthest I've gone. And I was definitely nervous on, you know, where am I supposed to stand? Do I stand next to this extra, or do I, you know, I was right in front of Rob pre-flight,
right?
And I'm like, you know, I'd rather say, you know, fly good, but instead I said don't suck.
Plenty good.
For like 20 minutes, I was like, oh my God, why did I say this to this guy like right before his flight? And he's just nodded his head like, oh, this jerk. You know,
there's
like
things that I'm involved in now that I don't think that I would have thought about being involved in, not just like shooting wise. I think that that's something that when you do a show that's not like when media days are like what you get to enter in for free or like early for like an hour and go do like, you know, I've heard of shows doing that. Our media day is like essentially you have the whole practice day. No one else is there except for actual news crews. But even then, like, that's not as high pressure as, you know, like what Sam was talking about, where we have to figure out where we're all going to be. And there's lots of moving parts. Hey, don't stand over here. You have people tugging you on the tarmac. Like, hey, can't be over there. I'm involved now with like coordinating with ICAS and the FAA on where we're going to put a boat and like how we're going to do a photo boat for Chicago and Milwaukee. And what does that look like? And what waivers do we need to have signed? And there's a lot of different things that go involved. So now the hardest part of a show day is not the shooting. The shooting is actually probably the more relaxing part of the day. It's actually all the crap that I have to do ahead of time, which is site maps and all this other stuff we have to do for the box permit. Like these are things that I never thought I'd be involved in that now we have to start doing. But I think that you get a cool glimpse of how much chaos actually goes on and how much ballet there actually is in a show. I think what is it? I don't know who all went, but I think there's a lot of people who went to Pensacola. I heard Pensacola was an actual zoo because it was packed out and shut down. Yeah. So I can't imagine how chaotic that would have been. I wanted to go to that show too, but I was like, there's no way I'm getting in now. There's absolutely no way.
Yeah, it was on my list to go up there. And I drove up to Pensacola with my wife back in August, and just the drive there, I was just like, oh my God, this is like 13 hours from Miami, you know, to get there. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that again.
That's wild.
then I saw the first day and how many people were there. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm definitely not going to drive up there now.
I saw the post that it was like, we're closed. We're at capacity. I'm like, I'm sorry. Did you say an airfield's at capacity? What does that even look like? So,
I mean, I probably can confirm, and Julius, you can confirm that first, maybe it was like maybe 2022 McDill, where it was
Oh my gosh.
4 hours to get out of the airbase.
no way.
It took me and Alex like 2 hours, 3 hours to get out this time. Same with me and Sam. It took us forever.
Yeah.
That's wild. Yeah, I've
It
never
was-
heard of that.
I think they had probably 200,000 people there when we went. It took forever to get out.
Yeah.
Insanity.
So Julius, you had some collaborating with different people this year.
Mhm.
And you had some shenanigans in Wyoming. Thank you
I did.
for correcting me.
They're all mountains.
Tell me about the Aurora Aerospace.
Yeah, absolutely. We are planning a lot of big things for next year. Obviously, on the Instagram account, we made the post that we're going to be at Sun and Fun. Unfortunately, that's probably going to be our only show. But from the details that we have now, and obviously we're still working on it, and a lot of it's still tentative. But the plan is we're going to try and get a couple demos in. JB, he is the president of the National Test Pilot School. He's going to hopefully be flying the demo in the MiG during the show. I don't know exactly what the profile is, but right now, a lot of it is just trying to get everything organized, all the logistics. Dawson, he's another guy that's been working really close with me to help me out with Aurora. He's actually there probably more than I am. I'm really busy, but I think everyone in that group is so excited just to show the MiG off finally. It hasn't been to an air show since Oshkosh, I want to say in 2010, 2011.
Wow.
And the guy who owned it, they took it off and the fuel tank just popped off and started going down the runway. And they're like, no more MiGs at Oshkosh for a little bit. So that's kind of why it's been off the grid for a while. And then Chip bought it about 10 years ago now. So a couple of years after the incident, shipped it down in a box, got it all fixed up. We recently were out in Mojave. We got another MiG that's a parts bird, and then we had a third MiG that we just stripped parts from. So our guy John, he's one of the coolest dudes ever. He's a former F4 crew chief. He triple checked all the parts, so we have a bunch of spares. But yeah, we're super excited to show it off, and then we're planning something really cool, air to air wise. Still very tentative, but hopefully we're gonna get a few Soviet era jets up for a flight together.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. So
you've been doing a little bit of air to air photos. You have some friends up in Wyoming.
yes.
And you did, I don't know what kind of jet you're in. You're some private jet. You were getting air to air with other private jets, I'm guessing?
Yeah. So the first air to air we did was in Texas. That was for the solar eclipse. That was with my buddy Mark. Quick shout out to him. He has opened so many doors for me and given me so many opportunities to be able to do this stuff, and I'm very grateful, first off. But yeah, he called me about a month out. He's like, I figured I'd offer you. You're the first guy I want to reach out to. When I was sitting at K-Pi, trying to spot the MiG, funny enough, they had to cancel that day, so I was just sitting in the parking lot kind of down. He calls me, and I'm like, let me get back to you. I kind of fangirl for about a minute, and then I call him back. I'm like, absolutely, let's do it. And we had about a month to plan it all out, and I fly to Dallas on, I believe it was a Sunday or Saturday. and we do a practice flight with two of the S-211s and the little Italian fighter jets. They're called the Chubby Dolphin. So we did just some formation flying, pulled some maybe 4Gs. It was really cool. So it let me get used to, taking photos while we're inverted or while you're pulling G, so you kind of figure out how to hold the camera right. It took a few tries for me. I was very excited, so I was kind of like, oh my gosh, moving the camera around. So it took a couple maneuvers to get used to just flying in a jet like that. I had never flown anything that cool up until just airliners, so it was a whole new experience. And then the next day, we got to the airport super early, did our flight brief. Weather almost canceled us. There was a little cloud blanket over Dallas. Thankfully, it broke just in time. Our buddy John was flying the Honda jet, along with our other buddy, James Clear for Conflict on Instagram. I'm struggling on his name right now. I've only met him once, but amazing pal. He flies the Bronco. He's from the Albatross, super qualified pilot. So he and John were flying the Honda jet. Obviously, Mark was my front seater in the photo ship. And then we had our buddy Reagan's S-211, that's the green one, and then the other Victory S-211, which was the ex-Singapore Air Force jet. Our buddy Tom Packlin and his brother were flying in that. And we flew probably about 30 minutes south of Dallas, and we flew in front of the eclipse, so it intercepted us. We had about 5 minutes to do photos, and the whole time we're just doing S-turns, and it was a huge effort with teamwork. I'm telling Mark, descend, climb, left, right, and it worked out perfectly. Everyone was on the same page, and it made for some really cool photos and an amazing experience. And
Go ahead.
Sorry, no, you're good.
Yeah, I saw those shots. Those were pretty amazing. What kind of what was your camera setup for air to air?
So
sorry about the squeaking also.
No, I have my dog too. He's sleeping somewhere here. So for the day shoot, it was pretty much what I would usually shoot. 1/2500. I keep my f8, f9, auto ISO. Pretty much the same that I shoot, a regular air show at or just spotting at. Shooting at nighttime basically is a lot harder. I was very, very nervous these shots were going to come out bad because I don't shoot night a lot, and the R7 has never been the best with low light capabilities. But Mark kept it steady enough, and through some luck, I cranked it down to 160. I cranked the ISO up to I don't even know what, and I put the f-stop way down to where lowest would go on that little lens, and shots came out. I could see the jets, got all the shots I needed. They are still a little bit dark, but a little bit of editing fixed it up pretty good.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome. That sounds super fun. I'm looking forward to another air-to-air shoot in the future.
Yeah, we're hoping to get some really cool ones lined up here. Hopefully, end of this year, if not a bunch next year. So there's a lot of plans in motion, and hopefully they all come to fruition.
Awesome. Good luck to you on that.
Thank you.
Do you know when the MiG's gonna fly at Sun and Fun? Do you have a day?
So I believe we are gonna fly it in that Monday. We kind of want to keep it when it's not so busy, just so we can get it in, and we can drive the bread van over with all the merch and all the fun stuff, and then the GPU, we call it the juice box. So we need all of our stuff there. So we're gonna get there early just to set up, and I'm gonna assume we probably won't fly during the busiest days. I'm assuming it's gonna probably be Wednesday, Thursday, maybe Friday, but I know it's probably going to be, since it'll be the first time, Chip's going to be at an air show in probably a decade. JB has been to an air show in forever. And, this would be my first time helping coordinate with the FAA and everyone at Sun Fun. So it'll be a lot to work with, but we're very excited. So
I'm excited for you.
yeah, it's going to be awesome. No matter what happens, I'm just so excited that we can bring the MiG in. Obviously the MiG 23 was in 2023 Sun Fun, and then Tony with his Cuban MiG 17, which I love. He's had it there for 2 years, so there's been a absence in supersonic MiGs though, so we figured we'd fill that hole.
I'm super excited. There's actually a MiG coming into Miami Executive this weekend, the 17th. So any Miami people are listening on, you could probably see it coming in around between 2:30 and 2:45, or even better, 2:15 and 2:45. I can't give an exact time because I can't be saying that, but MiG 21 MiG 17 coming in. MiG 28, who knows?
MiG 28.
Jacob, I saw you joined in. Welcome to the show. All right, so Yost, is there anyone that you would want to work with in the future? You want to do a documentary on a team?
Well, my favorite team just retired, so I don't know. I've really loved working with Preston and Kyle. It was the first time I met them at Stewart, and it would be great to kind of collaborate with them again on something. But I have nothing really in the works. I'd love to get into the video side of things as well, and kind of do a little bit more of the short content and stuff like that. But I just switched over to all mirrorless, so I'm kind of playing around with that a little bit and trying to get my feet in the door with that before I do anything too crazy. So we'll see what 2025 has. I almost said 24 in store, but we'll go from there.
Awesome. Looking forward to seeing some shots, and maybe give me your take on the new mirrorless.
Absolutely.
Preston, I got to reach out to him. I met him for the first time at Stewart also. Super cool guy. I know he was doing interviews. I know I kind of might have put my foot in my mouth when he was interviewing you guys, and I was doing video behind, a little behind the scenes. But I got to reach out to him, see if he wants to maybe come on, talk about his work a little bit. It would be great to have him on. Marvin, you got the Growlers coming up. Who else? You have anything else lined up?
I think what we're looking at doing is possibly doing the Viper demo team and having a proper one done of them. They've done a couple of I've seen a couple more talking head stuff from them. So right now we're just trying to figure out, there's a lot of team members transitioning, a ton of team members. And so I'm getting warm handoffs from the PA and trying to figure out what their show season looks like. We won't really know much until we get to ICAST, where we really get to see the full lineup. Navy won't even release theirs for even a month or two after that. But most likely the idea is to get the Growlers, and if everything works accordingly, we'll get the Growlers interviews done well before they even get up to the Midwest. And that way we can focus a lot of our attention on the safety briefings that happen at the show, how they work at the tents, and then kind of all the stuff that you see in between. For the Viper demo team though, I'll have access to them if I'm almost certain we're at least going to get them for Milwaukee. I'm pretty sure. And if that's the case, then I have easy access to them. So I can do that anytime, even when they arrive. And I get 5 days over there. So it'll be plenty of time to record just the basic stuff and then worry about everything else extra. So, but that's the hope, is Viper and Growlers. We'll see what happens though.
I wish you the best of luck for the Vipers. It's going to be hard to beat this year. Preston really killed it with all the photos and videos that he took of them, and just that whole 50th anniversary of the Viper, and the team did an awesome job with a throwback Stingray. I was like, oh man, this is epic.
Yeah, I guess they're going to keep that livery going for next year, which will be great. So at least we'll get a little bit, but he's not off the hook because they still owe me footage for a couple different teams. So regardless of what he may think, he still's got footage for me for this year. So you'll see some stuff from him, and most likely if Kyle's around, which he usually is, they'll be participating again. So probably the same people from the last time.
Yeah, awesome. Blaz, what's your, if you had to work with a team?
Oof, I never really thought about that, but definitely would love to work with Growler or the Rhino. I'm a big Navy guy. I love Navy planes.
Yeah.
I see myself doing that in a few years, so it'd be cool to kind of be there firsthand and see how they go through the swing of things.
Awesome. All right, that's pretty good for the first topic of the night there. Well, let's go into AI and aviation, DCS, Microsoft Flight Sim, air combat. What's your thoughts on those simulators for aviation photography? Who wants to start on that?
So when you say like DCS, you mean like when people will like post the reels or like the photos of DCS,
Yeah.
like on Instagram? Okay. I've never minded it. I wouldn't do it, but I would never judge anybody for posting what they want to post. As long as they, enjoy doing it, who am I to judge? So that's pretty much my my look on it. People are free to post whatever they want, and the joy of creative freedom is beautiful. So
for sure, Marvin, I know you did a few of these reels.
Yeah, so I have a lot of fun with it. I've been a DCS player since it actually first dropped, so it's been well over 7 years since it's actually been out. Before it was called Lock On, and that was like a single player only. Before the internet was like all about like multiplayer games, it was a game called Lock On. And I remember having a computer when I was younger. I was like, this game is amazing. And then coming back to it years later when there was like, we're doing this whole new thing now. It's all online. It's all multiplayer stuff. And I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And I jumped into it and I just love it. But DCS wise, like I think it's actually quite incredible the amount of fidelity that has come out of just the gaming scene in general. Like, I feel like with Microsoft Flight Simulator, it's kind of hard to tell what's like, or not hard to tell. It's not that hard to tell what's real and what's not on Microsoft Flight Simulator. There's a couple things that at least when you play DCS, you can tell what's from what. But DCS, there are some people who have made some pretty convincing things where I was like, I had to like look at it again going, hold on, I need to look for something. There was actually one video that popped around. It was someone put a VHS overlay of their footage, and it was a Hornet joining up for an air-to-air refueling. And at first I was like, all right, it looks pretty real. Then the second you see the cone snap over to the probe, I'm like, okay, never mind, that's a game. I was like, that's a game. I was like, got me there for about 5 seconds. You got me. And then you're like, okay, it's a fake. But, those ones are, it's a lot of fun to play around with. I know that there was a guy I talked to. He does a lot of boom stuff, but what he does is he'll do the motion editor, and he'll actually just kind of fly a profile of essentially what would be a hookup for air refueling. And then he actually sets the camera up on the just underneath where you would typically be laying down in the boom, and he actually practices seeing what that angle would look like. Does this plane actually look good at, and because you have the freedom to adjust your focal length on the fly, he actually can see if it's worth bringing a telephoto, if it's worth bringing a wide angle and ultra wide, like what is the, what would look the best. So technically he uses it as an educational thing for him. And I post them, but I post them with the DCS tag on it, so it's from DCS. And it's fun to just kind of mess around with that kind of thing too, because we do intercepts with the Thunderbirds in Chicago with the 126. So we'll get to do a lot of that stuff. So for me, it's actually kind of fun because the last time I missed it. So this time we'll be able to actually play around with it and see. I'm probably going to bring a telephoto, shockingly, and then try and see if I can make something different, because everybody brings super wides or wide angles. Yeah. And I want to kind of do a little bit more detail oriented, I guess would be the best way to say it. So yeah, I don't mind it. Go ahead.
I think those sims are probably a simulator, to the most, and a training tool if you're doing air to air, I mean, believe me, I would love to do air to air with a AV8 Harrier,
Mhm.
you know, but those are gone now. That would have been my go-to.
Yeah.
So I watched your video and I'm like, oh my god, it's a
Oh, good.
it feels good to just watch this. You know what I mean? I know it's a simulator, but I would have loved to maybe get some. You know, it's a good tool to use for training.
Yeah.
You know, even if it's on, you know, just different angles of it taxiing. If you know, it could probably help you with those jets, not a Harrier anymore
Mhm.
or an A10, but a Growler, a Rhino, different angles of them taking off, angles of them, you know, on the ground. It could probably help.
It gives good perspective.
Yeah, give good perspective, and maybe see different angles that you won't see on the ground. You would have to actually crawl underneath the. So that's one thing I kind of did at Stewart. Went into the main, not the main landing gear, but the nose landing gear wheel well. And I took a peek, and you had a Memphis belt underneath there, you know. And not a lot of people have got that shot, and I mean it's a really bad shot, really bad angle.
Really bad shot.
I didn't do a good job, you know. And now it's like the only shot that I have of that door panel, you know.
I'm pretty sure I scared Mad when she was at Battle Creek, and I told her, I was like, hey, I'm gonna record your pre-flight and your taxi out. And she was like, okay, sounds good. And I was like, I'd asked the PA, I'm like, where do you want me? He goes, just don't get killed. I was like, sounds great, I'll be wherever. So we essentially, that's what if they trust you, that's pretty much what they tell you is, hey, just don't die, please, don't be stupid. And I was like, sounds good. So we stood there, and she was taxiing out, and she had her air brakes out, and she was taxiing right for us, and then her wing was at my level with the air brakes on, and I was getting ready to bring the tripod down, and I was like,
close it.
so she's like staring at me like forward. So it was pretty funny. I was like, oh, I forgot about that. So I told her, I was like, I'm sorry. She goes, it's fine, it's just not normal. So yeah.
It's those
I made my own mistakes. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I've gone to a few shows, and I've seen someone out there with a 360 camera, and I'm like, man, I wish I would have had that at Stewart, because I would have got some crazy angles, you know, on this like giant telephoting pole, 30 feet up, you know. And I was like, oh, well, do I have to coordinate that with the FAA, you know, since they own surface to above? You know?
That's true.
Yeah, I don't know that the FAA observers. Some of them are really cool, and some of them are very anal. And I don't have a problem with either or, because it's technically, I mean, they're the ones who call everything. At Chicago, I mentioned the last time the Thunderbirds were at Chicago, not this last year, but the year before. And when they did their first opposing pass, a lot of the people on the boat ducked, not because it was unsafe low, but that they had not warned us about how low they were supposed to, that they were allowed to go. So it was 70 feet from sea level, which was only 50 feet from where we were on the boat. So if you can imagine, it's a little close. And so everybody's face was just flabbergasted, and we had to call on the radio, like, what did you clear them to? I said, sorry, we cleared them to 70. Would have been nice to know, standing on the mast.
I'm sure Jacob can kind of confirm that when the Blues do the flyover at the pier.
Oh yeah.
You know what altitude that is? Who knows? I mean, I'm guessing it's probably more than 100, but it might be up to 50. I don't know what's the height of the pier there, Jacob, if you know that. So the things that AI is helpful for would be software. You know, AI Topaz, I'm not sponsored, and I'm not telling you to go buy that stuff. I don't even have it. But I see all these ads on it, and I'm like, oh man, maybe I should get that. You know, maybe I should try to get something. Maybe I should do Adobe Cloud. I still edit on Lightroom 4, you know, because I bought that back in the day, and I don't want to pay a monthly subscription to Adobe, you know. So it's probably hurting my images. I'm getting really good photos in camera, and then I'm importing to this thing that's from like 2002. Maybe it's doing good, maybe it's not. I don't know. But I look at all this editing software, and I'm like, okay, who has experienced it? Who can kind of elaborate on, is it a good idea or what? Yost?
Go for it, Yost.
So I actually use everything. I have Topaz, I have Lightroom. I do agree with you on the subscription. I wish it was just a buy one time and updated as you go, or pay for the update, whatever, but that's just me apparently. Um, but Topaz has been great. I love Topaz. When I was being brought up in photography, it was stress to me to keep all of my photos. Doesn't matter if it's good, if it's bad, if the tail's cut out, if you can't see anything, even if it's just a picture of the sky, I was told to keep it. So I did. I have pictures from about 2009 that I throw into Topaz, and they look like it was shot on my 7D. So it works wonders for me. I've been able to save shots that I'm like, man, it's great, but it's like just a touch, touch soft. You throw it in there and it fixes it, no problem. So it's been great. It really emphasizes the panel lines too, which personally I like. So yeah, I love, the denoise and Lightroom is gorgeous. It's beautiful. I don't think I could live without it now. So there's a lot of things with AI that I'm enjoying, but there's some things too that I'm kind of against, like the whole the new motion blur thing that Lightroom's come up with. Not a fan of it. As someone who likes to shoot panning, I kind of like to keep it that way. But I guess it's kind of artist expression as well. So if someone likes that, that's fine. But for me, I kind of wish people would just do it by hand.
Yeah. What is the blurring tool? It automatically blurs the background for you?
Yes, you can kind of like set the subject, which in our case it would be the plane or whatever you're doing, and it'll pretty much do a motion blur on however much of the image you want. You can kind of adjust it to how much it looks. You can have like straight motion blur lines, or you can kind of just have the slight panning effect. So it really depends on the person, but
I've not
That's
seen that yet.
I,
That's interesting.
I think it's an early access thing right now still. Like they haven't fully developed it yet. Because like every time I haven't used it, I don't usually pan that much to begin with. Yost would kill me for that. But every time I do, like I'll accidentally click on it and I'll be like, I didn't want to do that, but it'll be like, oh, pre-alpha. I pay like $40 a month for Adobe. I have like 4 terabytes of storage, which is why I keep up with it, because I have a lot of photos in my Lightroom. But yeah, every time I click on it, it's like, oh, since you are a subscriber, you get the pre-alpha whatever, and it just like literally just at least on my phone or on my iPad when I'm editing, it just goes like same kind of like when you're doing the background on Lightroom. You can deselect the subject and just have the background, and you can just kind of control how much you want. I've tested it. If like some photos, like the sky will get mixed in with the plane, or something like that, it'll make the photo look kind of wonky. So it doesn't work, I think, as good as it could right now. I wouldn't use it personally, but I could see people definitely using it to their advantage, which is totally fine,
I've done some blurred, like artistic blur, half the photo be still and half the photo have this motion blur. And I'm going in there with a magnetic lasso on Photoshop, and I'm going around the whole airplane. It's taking me an hour to circle around the whole airplane that I want, and then I blur out the background. AI has now done it for me in just a click.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of me going in there and doing it for an hour and losing my eyesight,
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's just Topaz for my stuff. Some of like my flow is usually the denoise, depending on the images we're shooting, especially the time of day or even cloudy days. We're running high f-stops just to make sure we get the whole plane in focus. So I have no shame in saying that I use the Lightroom denoise, and then I use Topaz Sharpen, especially to help me out, just because I didn't grow up doing this. I'm a portrait photographer before I was an aircraft photographer. So for me, this is like, I used to live underneath 70 mil. Now I don't live below 200 mil. And even then, most of us are probably shooting at 600 or longer. So it's a different world to be brought up in. And for me, I'm like, I need all the help I can freaking get. And I remember first trying it out. I posted a picture of mine from like 2002 or 2022. I was like, these are terrible, but I'll post it anyway. And I remember posting it. I'm like, wow, I have come a long way from, but Topaz has definitely helped make that possible, especially if I'm not very good at panning. I'm still practicing. And so doing pan shots like 1/50, and you're like, just ever so slightly soft. You just click on that like motion, like just to kill a little bit of that motion and isolate your plane. You're like, there we go. That's what I meant to do right there. That's the shot right there. So I have no problem. I think there's a lot of people who will 100% bag on other people, especially photographers. They think that they're the elitists. Like, you don't edit your photos, you shoot JPEG, you don't do any kind of editing because you're disingenuous to the image. And I'm just like, yeah, but there are some imperfections even when you're shooting it. If you can't control the lighting and the entire thing, then there's no way you can make this perfect. You need to adjust it yourself to the extent, not just like, I turned the sky from day to night, guys, check it out. Look at this clean night shot. Like, yeah, you shot that at 100 ISO at night? My guy.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say.
There's always going to be editing haters, man. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
Real quick, Jacob responded, the Piers 26 feet and the Blues fly over at 50 feet above sea level, which is about 20-ish feet from when he's on the pier.
Definitely violent. That is about as violent as it gets.
I'd be hitting the deck.
When you mean shoot a video of him where he's like shooting and you just see the shockwave go across the camera and you see the jet like just in frame?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
crazy.
I mean, I wonder if you get some wake turbulence at that point. You know?
Wake turbulence. Smack in the face.
That's so much fun to be on with multiple people. All right.
Sorry, I was getting a little hot.
We started again, and you're basically back in the same spot you were before.
That's kind of wild. That's going to be nice.
That's perfect.
It's super convenient for the reels.
Man, Jacob is he had sent a request here. Should we throw him on here for the
We definitely.
More the merrier, right?
Yeah. All right, let's
surprise guest.
Surprise guest, right? I mean, that won't be a first, but let's see what happens for the third topic here. Jacob, our special guest of the night.
Why did my phone notify me to click this? Because we're awesome.
Exactly. I don't know, TQQ 50 from wherever you're from, because this is the best show that you're going to watch tonight.
Welcome.
Joe Rogan has nothing on us.
You know, when I was planning on podcasts, I had looked at podcasts that I watch, you know, when did they go on? It was on a Thursday, it was on a Friday, it was on Wednesday. You know, the Ramp Check podcast is on Wednesdays, and I was like, okay, well, I want to be able to watch that too, so let me not plan it on a Wednesday. And then it says Jacob is unable to join.
Oh,
sorry, Jacob.
Yeah.
I wonder if you may have 4 at a time.
Yeah, it might be 4 at a time. You might have to do your own show next year. Give me a date. You have my number. You have mine. I know, man. I know.
I'm present and ready.
It says 4 is the max. You know, so we decided. Well, I kind of decided Tuesdays would be good. Mondays I'd probably be exhausted from work, so Tuesdays is empty. Let's do a podcast Tuesdays, and you guys like it, and I'm super stoked that everyone is watching this, you know, and getting information, you know, getting some notes. I know I took a bunch of notes when you guys were on earlier this year. Oh my God, where did those come from?
Oh, I was just trying to.
Oh,
Jake
mine
said,
won't do
"Let me
it.
know
Mine
I'm going,"
usually
so I
does
did a little
it.
heart, and
Oh,
There we go.
oh my God, I got
I know it
special
worked the first time. I was just sending my love to Jake.
I got special effects. I didn't even have to pay extra for that.
Yeah.
Thanks, iPhone. Thanks, Apple.
Well, thanks everyone for coming on again. The part 2 of the Spotters podcast, episode 13. Continuing on with the roundtable, the final topic of the night is going to be air to air with drones. I mean, do we want to do air to air with drones, or do we want to kind of have the experience of being inside of another aircraft doing air to air?
I don't want to sound biased, but flying in a fighter jet's pretty cool when you're taking photos. You know, yeah. I don't know. That's my thing. I don't think there's anything wrong with air-to-air drone photography, though. I think the only thing is, and it applies to regular air-to-air photography. It's just safety. You know.
Yeah.
I guess the only thing that is a little bit better when you have like jets or props or whatever is that you can see the giant plane next to you. Someone loses sight of a little drone, it could whack into the plane, and that could cause problems. But I've never done it, but I've seen some really cool videos of them doing it, whether it was legal or not. I'd say as long as doing it legally and safely, I think it's totally cool.
I think it was legal. I did kind of reach out to him a little bit. I forget the user now that had done it.
Probably Nico.
Yeah, I think Nico Films has done a bunch of air to air with drones. He did it also with Red Bull.
Yeah, he's with them now, but he's also contracted freelance.
Yeah. So there is, of course, you have more rules than just being certified. You and I talked about that, about being certified UAS pilots, Marvin, and it's a little bit, it's probably a lot different of doing photos for hire when you're taking pictures and video of a stationary object like a building versus now you're flying in formation or probably going faster depending on what these first person video drones, their speed. And if it's a FPV drone that's a racing drone and now you're going faster than a P-51, I don't think it's going to happen, but you're probably catching up to how close in proximity. Like, how do you know what the distance is from just looking at your FPV?
So the FPV drones I used to do a lot of drift stuff before coming to Michigan. So drifting was a lot of things that we were doing. And at the time, Nico was actually just doing drifting. So he had done, I think his very first video wasn't actually a P-51. It was actually a Airbus H-130. He had gone out to the mountains and the canyon side of things, and he was just taking it for a buddy that he had known, who was like, "I'm a drone pilot. Let's get some cool stuff." And that kind of sparked, I think, for him a lot of everything. And that's what kind of snowballed into more and more, to going from only doing drift cars to doing mostly, or I guess now generally only aircraft for hire. The FPV drones, though, they range in size. I won't get into too much detail about that, but essentially we fly everything from a 5-inch to a 7-inch, and this is based around the prop diameter. So when someone says I fly a 5-inch drone, it's not actually 5 inches. It's actually the prop diameter in which you're flying. Mm-hmm. And so for us, FPV, I flew 7-inch drones. I preferred them for drift over 5-inch for sound and a lot of different things. The drones, racing drones with the right motors and the right prop combination, you will get pretty fast. I think the fastest that I was able to get to on my 7-inch was around 90 miles an hour. And that's about what we'll go on because we shot for Formula Drift. And in Washington, we have essentially it's called the Big Bend, where they actually start and they're actually just flooring it all the way through. And then they're going to try and hold that speed throughout this huge bend. And so we actually drop in from above to get to that speed. You have cine lifters who are much more powerful, but also carrying a heavy payload. So if you notice on the FPV one, or on the P-51, his flaps are dropped. And he's probably probably keeping it at a stall speed as much as he can, which is probably not that fast realistically. If we think about, a prop plane getting at a stall speed, it's probably not that bad. So for an FPV drone, it's really not hard, but for distance wise, the hard part comes in what you can see. So most likely his camera tilt determines how fast he can be, which determines how much you can see the props. My guess is his tilt is very aggressive to keep that speed going. And so for the most part, he's pretty clear up until I would say about 1.5 feet is when we're talking about like, that's probably pretty close enough. If you get any closer, you're probably gonna get tapped, or you'll tap him. And we judged distance based. I think you just get used to it as you fly more and more and more, especially for drift cars. We're talking about like, we're within inches of the car most time and holding that angle. And you get used to about how close that is and what feels uncomfortable and what doesn't. And I think the closest I've ever gotten is about 1 foot away from a car holding an angle, whereas we've had people get much closer. We've had people get far away, and that helps with the immersion factor. But yeah, I think for him, determining distance is just about practice. And I think doing drift cars helps. If you're a new pilot and then you're going to go shoot a plane, I think that's like the absolute worst decision you could possibly make. And of course, with doing, when he was doing it, there was nobody really spotting for him. He was there with them and they were in close proximity. They weren't really flying around all that much. Later on, as you go on, you need to have a spotter, radio communication between you, the pilot, safety observer, because there's a lot more things at play now, especially if you're running something like a cine lifter, which has got 8 motors and 8 props, plus whatever camera you're running, which is usually a red or, or an FX3 or something small but powerful to haul around. That's what I would say is it just takes practice. But distance wise is like 2 feet, 1 foot.
Sorry.
He's a little bit filter.
That's my buddy from high school. Hi, John.
Just loves that filter.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to, I'll share it is Nico Films that did it with Scale Wings aircraft. Their P-51. And yeah, it looks, you got the flaps down.
Yep.
For some of the shots, and then some of the shots, it's just kind of swooping in through the canyons and gliding around. So if you haven't seen that, I'll post it onto the channel tonight after the show. His account and some of those videos, air to air with drones, pretty amazing. I got my air to air, my UAS certificate last year, thinking that I was gonna probably do some piloting for friends that didn't have their Part 107, and those kind of plans fell through. But I'm Part 107 certified.
The one thing we told people when they were getting their Part 107 is like, it's not going to teach you how to fly. That's the one thing that it won't teach you. And I think a lot of people had a miscommunication or a misunderstanding of what that was supposed to be. Like, we went to drift tracks and they're like, you have your 107? It's like, yes, I can make money with my drone if that's what you're asking me. Yeah. But like, we were never, especially for drift, you're never above 50 feet, even at that, probably 25 feet. And so a lot of it was like, hey, this doesn't teach you how to fly. Anybody who walks in here with a 107 doesn't mean that they can fly drift. Like, you got to know how to chase a car. You got to know what is safe and what's not. Like, I can actually seriously damage someone's car, especially at drift cars, because they're low to the ground. My drone is all carbon fiber and it's pretty big. I can put a big size hole in your window if I'm not careful, or I can just completely destroy your car. I have a GoPro.
Yeah, but at the same time, being certified, you're basically the pilot in command.
Correct.
You're there as the safety person for your team.
Yes.
If your team has a pilot that is, if you're very experienced in drifting and doing FPV drones, then you're my pilot.
Right.
You may not be certified Part 107, but I'm there certified Part 107 to be the safety person. And now we're all communicating. We're on radios. We have the observer, like you mentioned. Everyone's in the line of sight. We're all doing it in a safe manner rather than some random kid going out there and be like, oh, yeah, I know how to fly a drone. But then you have, drifting, you're on a track. It's a closed track for the most part. You probably won't have planes flying overhead.
Except for the
or an airport.
Washington one does. The Washington one does. It's literally right in front of a airport.
Okay.
So we have to call the tower at a time to let them know there's an event running. And then, yes, you're right. We do have safety observers. And then we're also in conjunction with the guy who's actually running the entire drift event. So Formula Drift's there. We've got 2 pilots who have contacts on, and you have a contact on. And they're great too. Like, they don't pick up any of the car sounds until you start talking. And even then, it only isolates your voice, which is great. So we're in communication about where we are. We've had intruders before too, where people have brought their drones into the event and tried to fly. And it gets very scary, especially when we're talking about, you don't know what channel I'm on. If I'm on a channel and you plug in, like, I can freeze, I can totally black out. It gets very hairy
Sketchy
and stuff like that.
Yeah. Have you had any lost link issues?
We have, especially when I first started flying was in analog, which is what I guess if I'm going to bring something into a comparison, it'd be like what the Ukrainian pilots fly. They're cheap, they're affordable.
Yeah.
As long as you have general line of sight or good antennas, you can make it pretty far. But it also teaches you boundaries when you're flying, like what you can and cannot do. And it's actually way better. Then I moved to DJI, and they actually have way less link issues, but it's way more finicky on how much power the video transmitter needs. I found that out very firsthand when I built my first one. Punching full throttle, immediately the video cuts out because it's not used to, it takes so much draw. And also your battery is all your motors are taking all the draw, and the flight controller and the PID controller, everything is pulling all this power. So the video transmitter gets nothing. So essentially we had to go to, essentially it would be like a flight controller. And then I came up with a way to bypass all that by putting a PDP, which is a power distribution board. And then we had the other flight controller on the top. And essentially we would have the leads for the battery go from the PDP to the flight controller. That way that if I pulled power, the PDP takes all of that surge out and the video transmitter can get the amount of voltage it needs. There's a lot that goes even into building these drones essentially, but DJI is the most finicky. Let's just put it that way. It's the most finicky, but it's the most reliable also. So I guess yes and no, depending on what you're flying.
So when you built this is not a built DJI drone. You did this separately. You built your own drone. You bought the
so I designed my own frame, and then essentially you pick your components as far as motors. Motors have sizes, which equals to power. And then flight controllers are all different, varied on what you want, if you want GPS or not. And GPS is, again, wired in by yourself. The PIDs to make the drone fly smoother is all done on computer, and you do that yourself as well. There's no, like on DJI, people are spoiled completely. You can plug it in and take off, and it's smooth as butter. You get an FPV drone, and it's either super stiff, it's turbulent. So you do all of your own PID controlling, and how the plane, how the drone runs, even how the radios you use aren't like from your phone. I can't like give you my phone. It's actually a radio that you use like an RC plane essentially. Yeah. And you program everything based on what you want certain signals to do. So once you get it done though, and you have a layout that you like, building drones is not a big deal, and program is easy because you can save a profile, update your flight controller as long as you buy the same one, and then just transfer it over. So I essentially found a set of components that I really loved, bought 7 of the sets of them, and then essentially just copy pasted all the settings to them. So if I broke one, it wasn't like, I have to go fix it now. It's like I just threw it in the back and grabbed another drone off the rack and then go fly again. And my wife can attest to that because I spent many nights in the garage, like soldering together all the wires. And she's like, you need much longer? Like, I got 4 more to build. Just leave me alone. So once you dive into it and you learn how to do it, it's an addiction. Trust me.
Yeah. And you said the biggest blade diameter is 7 inches.
You can go higher. We've had drones, the size of those 13 by 19s behind me, I've had drones bigger than that. And they run 10-inch props or 12-inch props. But when you get to those props, the perk of having 7 to 5-inch is that if you were to crash, for instance, you can actually just bend the prop back, and for the most part, you can go fly again.
Yeah.
With a 10-inch and higher, they're made of a like a fiberglass, and so when they crash, they shatter, and it's expensive. It's also like $5 a blade. It's not cheap. So I essentially gave that away because that was gonna be my cine lifter, and I was like, I don't want to fly this. I'm too nervous. If it crashes, I'm already out $20 for props. not counting
You have
what
your
kind of
camera equipment.
correct. Yeah. So I was like, nope, selling it.
This is Huey.
He's got the little sweater on. I dig it.
Yeah. Sweater on. It's you're in Tampa, dude. It's colder there than it is.
As a Floridian, I'm freezing.
What was the temperature outside? 50 something? 54?
It's 22 here. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm in the 20s right now.
Listen.
Don't even talk to me.
Anything below 60 to me is like the tundra.
Can I mention that my furnace is also broken right now, so I literally have no heat.
Yeah, Sam. Huey has better style than him. I don't know.
32.
Stylish, man. My other one is pounding. She's on the sofa right now. She's looking at me like, "Yo, you talking to me?" Her name is Piper. So we're an aviation family.
I'm surprised Knox hasn't awoken from his slumber. I got him a new bed in my room, and it's kind of where he just spends his day now, sleeping in there.
I know, man.
He is probably snoring his life away right now.
These dogs, they live in the best conditions. They don't pay rent. They get free meals. You get to play outside. I'm gonna start charging treats. You don't get a full treat. You get a half treat.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh man!
Don't fall for it, Marvin. Don't fall for it.
So
I see what he's doing down there.
All right, let's see what the comments. Motocross Lover 94 Marvin, did he hear that the SawCon 25-1 exercise is held in Chicago?
Don't feed it. Don't feed it. Dang kids.
And we should do it. You know what? I think, let me see my schedule here. I was gonna try to get someone on. I'm doing two shows. All right. I'm doing 2 shows a month next year. January 21st. January 21st is a free for all. So the first 4 people that want to come on and have a chat, you can come on, talk about whatever you want to do, talk about for about an hour. So mark your calendars. January 21. It's a free game, open mic night. Let's do it. I have people until April 1st.
Wow.
So we have a wide schedule, 2 people a month. So for the first at least 3.5 months. Hey, stop chewing on that. So it's going to be fun next year. We're going to get a lot of information out there. We're going to probably touch on some aviation careers next year, and maybe some hobbies out there. So I know photography is our hobby. Photography is our jobs. We have other jobs. Maybe another hobby might be volunteering at a museum. So we might have someone on there that could probably elaborate on that. We have engineers next year coming on. We have probably mechanics coming on, and more air-to-air topics next year. So it's going to be fun next year. I'm gonna try to not have anything done during Sun and Fun. At least I don't think April 1st is when is Sun and Fun next year. Have they released the schedule for that? That's like the second week of April, right?
For Sun and Fun?
I think they did release their dates at least.
The 1st through the 6th.
Damn.
For Sun and Fun.
I might have to reschedule that one then.
Yeah, it's the 1st to the 6th. Yeah.
I just saw that. 1st through the 6th. All right, engineer. You're going to be rescheduled on my calendar. Stand by 1 second. Maybe we can knock it out. Thanks, Raptor. I'm going to try to be out there for Sun and Fun next year and try to catch some behind the scenes. Try to kick it with you guys with Aurora Aerospace. And
Oscar, if we don't have at least a beer together at Sun and Fun next year, I'm going to be very sad.
I mean, I know it's a lot of money for sure to get a jet ready in time for a big event like that. It costs a lot of money to maintain these older aircraft. I mean, any aircraft is going to take money. So, hopefully, you guys can make it out there. Sorry, I got a tow liquor over here. And we'll be out there. Sam, you going to try to make Sun and Fun next year?
We'll see. I have some kind of life changes happening, so kind of figuring out the transition between those. But Sun and Fun's definitely on my radar. I want to come out and see all you guys again. But I may go down to Michigan too for Thunder Over Michigan. Marvin, if you're there, I'd love to meet you in person. That was my hometown show. You mentioned Battle Creek, and I had to stop myself from, giving Michigan a little shout out. But so we'll see. We'll see what's in store for Yosti this coming year.
Julius, you have your show list lined up for next year?
Yeah, I have some pretty big ambitions for next year. Obviously, we want to. Sun and Fun is the big one, obviously, because we're bringing the MiG, and then I know me and Mark are going to be there with the F211 as well, or L39. One of the two, and we'll be doing air to airs. We're trying to coordinate throughout the week, obviously with the MiG 21, which I'm kind of double coordinating back and forth. And then we're going to try and get some cool warbird photo shoots going. But other than that, Key West would be nice. I love Key West, as you know.
Yeah.
We've been down there plenty of times. I would really like to go to Japan, the Iwakuni Air Show. I was supposed to go in 2023. Fortunately, a typhoon stopped that. I think it'd be really cool to get out there finally. One of my best friends lives out there. He is based in Kadena. More so, it'd be nice to see him, but I know we definitely go spotting and to the air shows in those couple weekends. Oshkosh definitely on the table again. That'd be a lot of fun. And then I really want to get out to more exercises. I think it's really cool just getting to see pilots do their own thing more so than like a profile. It's also like, don't get me wrong, I love air shows, but I think it's really special getting to just see them do their job and just absolutely rock it. I think it's so cool just catching them in their natural environment.
Yeah,
I think that's awesome.
We've done that a few times. Just head down to Navy Key West and just get whatever that's there, and they're always ripping it, man. They're if no one knows what Naval Air Station Key West is, it's a fleet replacement training squadron air base. So you have everyone coming from the West Coast, from the East Coast, flying into Navy Key West, and they're training with F5 Tiger IIs, and those are painted as adversaries. Man, these paint schemes are just from Arctic blue to all black. You got a MiG-28. They're there. They're there to do dissimilar combat training with different aircraft. Sometimes attack comes down there with a Mirage. Sometime Draken. I don't think Draken goes down. I haven't seen Draken at Key West ever. But I know they fly out of Lakeland and they fly out of Pensacola. Well, probably not Pensacola, but like Eglin. They've flown out of there. So you have all these different aircraft, and they're basically training these young naval aviators how to identify something coming up. I mean, I've seen F-22s down at Navy Key West, and I'm like, how are you gonna train those guys? They could see you 350 miles away.
Mm-hmm.
How are you gonna train to find an F5? They already found you. Being in my line of work, I work in air traffic. I have the frequencies, and I like to kind of tune in and listen to the air-to-air techniques, or them just kind of flying around in the warning area. And when the F-22s were there, they'd be like blue team, and the F5s are red team, the bad guys. And all you hear, as soon as they get into the warning area, they're like starting up, and they're like, "Oh, red team, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, you're dead." Like, you didn't give them a chance. They're already. As soon as you walk in the door, they're like slaughtered. So, it's fun to listen to that. Yes, the Sundowners in Key West. So, and when they come back, they're ripping up the pattern. These guys are having fun. There's the locals are complaining about the noise, but the air base has been there long before you move down there to your fancy little house.
By
Hey,
fancy little house, you mean trailer park?
yeah. Hey, I was trying to be nice.
The $500,000 trailers.
Yeah, there's a lot of those down there for sure. So what is? I mean, you guys have your own episodes. They're on Spotify. All your background information's on there for the most part. What you shoot with, your camera gear, our topics throughout the year, they're all on Spotify. You can now listen on iHeartRadio and Amazon Music, and I believe something else. What was the other one? It'd be good if I knew this, right? Audible. So I don't have Apple Music. It wants me to update my iOS so I can use it, and I'm not going to do that. So Apple Music doesn't get it. Unfortunately, sorry guys, you can't get it. But 4 out of 5 is good with me. I'm sure there's other things, but we're gonna stick with what I know. If you haven't seen the post, there's a Printify out there. You can support the podcast with buying T-shirts, and there's calendars on there. Everything is done by me. I do my audio. I do video. Instagram does the video here. And tomorrow we'll go on live to all these streaming sites. So I want to thank you all for coming on throughout the year, supporting me and supporting the show, having fun, sharing your knowledge. Is there any... we still have time, but I want to thank you all anyway. Now, while I have you, is there anything that any of you want to share?
Absolutely. Kind of payback off you said. It's been an amazing year. I have had some amazing opportunities, which I can't thank people enough for. I never thought like 4 years ago I'd be able to do some of the stuff I'm doing now. And I've had, great friends and family along the way to, be there with me, and it makes the hobby worth it, and it makes it all the more fun. I've met some amazing people through this, so it's been a great year, and I can't wait for next year and everything else that's going to come our way.
I wish you the best for next year and many more years of doing epic work. Thank
you. Likewise to you.
Thanks. Sam, any words of wisdom?
Just thanks for having me on. I found the podcast when Blas did his episode, and then shortly after you were like, "Hey, when are you coming on?" And so we did, and it was a blast, and it's been a lot of fun to see the podcast grow, and it's a side project that you're working on, and I think you should be proud of it, and I hope you are. But it's been a lot of fun, and this year has honestly been one of the better years I've had with aviation. I've had a lot of experiences that I could have never guessed when I started shooting on my point-and-shoot Hello Kitty camera at the ripe old age of 3 years old. So it's been a really knowledgeable and inspirational year despite the lack of posts. But I'm very thankful for this year.
I know it's been a tough year also for you. You know, and it was felt across the air shows. I'm sure of it. You know, the teams. So I know it was tough, and I hope you can kind of continue growing from that, continue your flight training, and see. Yo, dude, simmer down. Holy shit. Hey, no, babe, he's biting the cord.
Dogs are awesome, right?
Man, dude, you like took a bite out of my elbow here. You know, like what the hell? Yost Malone.
That's
Yeah.
been my new nickname.
You know, thank you guys. I you know, you guys are the best. Marvin, congratulations on your newest addition.
Thank you.
Little one.
The crazy life over here. Different direction.
We're gonna exchange. We got an exchange going on. Here's Piper.
Which one do you want?
You know, it was great having you on earlier in the year. I'm glad that you know, growing, doing these documentaries. I think it's awesome. I'm looking forward to your video series coming up. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so we're doing, well, one of the video series is going to be mainly talking about stuff for newer shooters. So like gear that I personally recommend. It may not be like the best for everybody, but gear that I found that works the best for people, and techniques for shooting, and then also talking about just experiences on how to work with shows if you've never done it before, and the route I would go. Unfortunately, it has the previous community, I would say previous community, has kind of ruined the freelance photographer's ability to shoot shows, unless you've got like the in or they know you. So kind of rebuilding that relationship so that newer people can come in and who really want to give back to teams and to shows and stuff like that. And then also we got like, you know, like you said, we got a couple of docs on the way, and hope to keep doing more of these, even if they're just short docs, just something that's a little different from the typical stuff we scroll through on Instagram, something that's more sit down and, you know, do homework and listen to or watch. So I enjoy watching them. So hopefully people will enjoy watching these.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed the Rhino demo team. So I'm definitely going to enjoy the Growler. I mean, Julius over here downing a tall boy.
I know, this is a tall boy by no means.
40 ounce over there. You know, he's a fan of naval aviation. I'm a fan. I love naval aviation since I saw the Blue Angels in El Toro, California back in like 1985.
Yeah.
Hi, girl.
It'll be cool doing a team that's from my hometown over in Washington. So that's going to be interesting. And we've already been down there before, so it'll be nice. Once we get the PA stuff worked out for recording on base, then we'll get started.
What are you going to Whidbey Island?
It'll be Whidbey, and then if we can, we'll go to Coopville, which is their like practice landing field essentially for carrier stuff when they can't go do it on base.
Yeah,
so.
Awesome. Man, I'm looking forward to that. I wish I could join you in all your endeavors.
If you're in Chicago, Milwaukee, Battle Creek, send me a message, dude. That's how Preston came. That's how Craig came. I got a couple of new people coming out for Chicago next year. They saw how much fun it was, and I tell people all the time, I was like, you're gonna come out to a show, just let me know ahead of time so I can set some space on you on the boat for you.
Yeah, I'm going to. Unfortunately, next year is kind of booked up. I got some things going on in September.
Okay.
And trying to save up for that one. It's going to be a week-long trip, so can't share anything as of yet. I need to get clearance on that one first.
Gotcha.
But yeah, thanks everyone. We're gonna end this so I can take the dogs out. We're gonna end it. Thank you all for coming on. Thank you everyone for joining in on another episode of the Spotters Podcast. We'll see you next month, and happy holidays.
All right, thank you.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. Get stuffed up on some food.
But I gotta do one more of these before we go.
Does it work?
Most it.
I'm just better.
Yeah, I think you
What
gotta
is
hold
Like
it.
close to
You
you.
have to hold it. You have to go like this. You have to like
Yeah,
do like
I
this.
think I get like.
You can do the thumbs
got it.
up. You
There
can
you
do
got it.
go. Hell yeah.
There's
Can't do these. He's like, it doesn't work for me.
It doesn't. It,
Just kind of works when it wants. I think you can do like a thumbs
Yeah,
up, maybe. I don't
thumbs
remember.
up. There's peace
my
signs.
my hand is not like a thumbs up hand.
I got a really big.
There we
thumb.
go.
What do you? Well, I can only do.
I don't know.
Wait, the tap.
Oh, jeez. You got a disco party going on.
It's filters, man.
Coop might want to.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Coop, you might need to proofread your
Yeah,
comments there,
I
bud.
would definitely double check that one, Coop. That seems like it's a bit off.
Wow. All right. All right. Have a good night, guys. Thanks for
All right.
coming on.
You
Have a
too.
good one.
See you guys.
Have a good one, guys.